The auction block of Shane the slave market on Xerion Prime buzzed with alien voices haggling over sentient lives. Captain Marcus Kane stood at the edge of the crowd, his weathered face hidden beneath a hood. He wasn't here to buy slaves. He was here on a rescue mission that had gone terribly wrong. Next item, Lot 47. The Vorthik auctioneer's voice boomed through the translator. Damaged goods, but still functional for basic labor. Marcus watched as they dragged her onto the platform. The young woman's left arm was completely missing, torn away at the shoulder, and hastily bandaged. Her uniform bore the insignia of the tearing research vessel Horizon, the same ship Marcus had been sent to find. Lieutenant Victoria Cross, the ship's chief engineer, now stood chained and broken before a crowd of alien bidders. Half price for the crippled human, the auctioneer laughed, his tentacles writhing with amusement. Perfect for menial tasks that don't require two arms. Victoria's eyes swept the crowd, and for a moment they met Marcus's. He saw no defeat there, only burning determination. Even missing an arm, even chained like an animal, she stood with military precision. Her spine straight, her chin high. The bidding was pathetic. Most aliens dismissed her immediately upon seeing her condition. A few made half-hearted offers, more interested in the novelty of owning a human than any practical use. Marcus felt his jaw clench as they discussed her like broken machinery. "Do I hear 50 credits?" the auctioneer called out. Surely someone can use a one-armed human. The crowd's laughter echoed through the market. Marcus had heard enough. He stepped forward, his voice cutting through the noise like a blade. 1,000 credits. The entire market fell silent. The auctioneer's compound. Eyes widened in shock. 1,000 credits was more than most healthy slaves sold for, let alone a damaged human. "Did you say 1,000, stranger?" The Vorthik asked, his translator struggling with disbelief. "You heard me correctly," Marcus replied, producing a credit chip from his coat. 1,000 credits for the human. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Some aliens looked impressed, others confused. Why would anyone pay so much for damaged merchandise? The auctioneer's greed overcame his confusion. Sold to the generous bidder. As the chains fell away from Victoria's wrists, she stumbled slightly. Marcus caught her with steady hands, feeling how light she had become. Weeks of captivity had taken their toll. "Lieutenant Cross," he whispered. "Captain Kane, Terran Space Navy. I'm here to bring you home." Her eyes filled with tears she refused to shed. "The others, sir." "The crew. We'll find them," Marcus promised. "But first, we get you medical attention." As they walked away from the auction block, Victoria looked back once at the platform where she had been sold like scrap metal. She had survived the worst thing imaginable, but she was still a Terran officer, still human, still unbroken, the real. Fight was just beginning. The price of human dignity. Marcus's ship, the Defiant, was a modified cargo hauler disguised as a merchant vessel. In the cramped medical bay, he worked to treat Victoria's wounds while she told him what had happened to the Horizon. "We were conducting deep space surveys near the Nexus cluster," she explained, wincing as he applied fresh bandages. "The Slavers' Guild ambushed us. They had inside information about our route." Marcus paused in his work. "Inside information?" "Someone in command sold us out, Captain. They knew exactly when and where to hit us." Victoria's voice hardened. "The crew fought back, but we were outnumbered. They took everyone alive except Captain Rodriguez. He went down with the ship." The revelation hit Marcus like a physical blow. The Terran military had corruption in its ranks, selling out there. Own people for profit. It made him sick, but it also made him angry. "How many survivors?" he asked. 12, including myself. "They split us up immediately. Some went to the mining colonies, others to private collectors. I was deemed the least." Valuable because of this. She gestured to her missing arm. Doc Marcus finished the bandaging and stepped back. Victoria, I need you to know something. This isn't just a rescue mission anymore. High Command wrote you all off as casualties. They're not coming for the others. She stared at him in shock. What are you saying? I'm saying this is unofficial. I used my own resources to track you down. As far as the Navy is concerned, you're all dead. Marcus met her eyes. But I don't abandon my people, ever. Victoria was quiet for a long moment. Then she stood, testing her balance. What's the plan, Captain? We find your crew, all of them, and we bring them home. Over the next 3 days, Marcus and Victoria worked together to gather intelligence. The lieutenant proved invaluable despite her injury. Her engineering expertise helped them hack into the slavers' networks, while her intimate knowledge of the crew helped identify their locations. Engineer Corporal James Walker is in the tritium mines on Kilo 7, Victoria reported, reading from a stolen manifest. Medic Petty Officer Rachel Kim was sold to a private collector on Zephyr Station. Navigation Officer Lieutenant David Park is listed as entertainment for a hexapod crime boss. Each name on the list made Marcus's blood boil. These were trained military personnel, reduced to property by alien slavers. But Victoria's calm professionalism impressed him. She treated each piece of intelligence like a tactical problem to be solved. You're handling this better than I expected, Marcus observed. Victoria looked up from the datapad. Respectfully. Captain, I'm not handling it at all. I'm compartmentalizing. When we get everyone back, then I'll process what happened to us. Her honesty was refreshing. Marcus had served with officers who would have broken down completely, but Victoria was channeling her trauma into determination. That night, as they planned their first rescue attempt, Victoria asked the question that had been weighing on her. Mind, why did you come for us? Really? Marcus was quiet for a moment. Because leaving people behind isn't just wrong, it's inhuman. And humanity is all we have out here. Victoria nodded slowly. Then let's go remind the galaxy what humans are. Capable of. The rescue network, the tritium mines of Kilo 7, were a death sentence for most species. The toxic atmosphere and crushing gravity made survival nearly impossible without protective gear. For humans, it was just another Tuesday. Marcus and Victoria approached the mining complex disguised as equipment inspectors. The Colonian overseers were notorious for their cruelty, but they were also notoriously lazy when it came to paperwork. Inspection team from the mining guild, Marcus announced, presenting forged credentials. We're here to check on worker efficiency. They, slug-like overseer, barely looked up from his meal. Sector 7. The humans are in Sector 7. Don't take too long. Victoria's jaw tightened at the casual dismissal, but she followed Marcus deeper into the mine complex. The air grew thicker with each level they descended, and the gravity made every step feel like they were walking through quicksand. They found James Walker in the deepest section of the mine, operating a massive drilling rig with 3 other human prisoners. Despite weeks of captivity, he still moved with military precision. His hands were burned and scarred from the toxic equipment, but his eyes were alert. Walker, Victoria called softly. The engineer spun around, his face cycling through disbelief, joy, and hope. Lieutenant Cross? But you're supposed to be dead. I know. Victoria smiled grimly. Change of plans. The rescue itself was simple. Marcus had purchased explosives from a black market dealer, and Victoria's engineering skills turned them into a distraction. While the overseers rushed to contain a mining accident in Sector 3, the humans simply walked out of Sector 7. Where are we going? Walker asked as they reached the surface. To get the others, Marcus replied. All of them. Their next stop was Zephyr Station, a notorious hub for illegal activities. Medic Rachel Kim had been sold to a collector who specialized in exotic specimens. The thought of a Terran medical officer being treated like a zoo animal made Marcus's blood boil. The collector, a wealthy Andromedian named Zexther, lived in a penthouse suite overlooking the station's commercial district. His security was impressive, but it was designed to keep people out, not in. "I can get us through the electronic locks," Victoria offered. "With one arm?" "Captain, I designed the security systems on 3 different starships. I think I can handle one rich alien's apartment." She was right. Within minutes, they were inside. The collector's private museum. The sight that greeted them made Marcus want to commit murder. Rachel Kim sat in a glass cage, dressed in a mock-up of a Terran uniform. A plaque in front of her cage read, "Homo sapiens Terran Medical Specialist. Note the advanced cognitive abilities and tool usage." The medic looked up as they approached, her eyes widening in recognition. "Vicky, is that really you?" "It's me. Rachel, we're getting you out of here." The collector himself appeared as they were breaking the lock. Zexther was a tall, crystalline being with multiple arms and a voice like grinding glass. "What is the meaning of this intrusion?" he demanded. Marcus stepped forward, his military bearing making him seem larger than he was. "We're taking back what was stolen from us." "Stolen? I purchased this specimen legally." "I have documentation." "Your documentation is worth nothing," Marcus replied coldly, "because humans aren't property." The collector moved to trigger an alarm, but Victoria was faster. Her one good arm swept out, catching him across what passed for a face. The alien crumpled to the floor, more surprised than hurt. "Let's go," Victoria said calmly, "before he wakes up." As they left the station with Rachel in tow, Marcus couldn't help but admire Victoria's transformation. The broken woman he'd bought at auction was becoming something else entirely. She was becoming a leader. 2 down, 9 to go, she said, checking her list. Marcus nodded. "And each one gets us closer to making them pay." The underground Warby, the time they reached Navigation Officer David Park's location, word of their activities had spread through the underworld. The hexapod crime boss holding him had tripled his security and moved Park to a fortified compound on the asteroid belt. "This is different," Marcus observed, studying the compound through his scope. "They're expecting us." Victoria nodded, her tactical mind already working. "Good. Let's not disappoint them." They had rescued 6 more crew members over the past 2 weeks. Each operation had been more dangerous than the last, but they had also become more efficient. The rescued crew members weren't just passengers anymore. They were soldiers in their own liberation. "Walker, can you jury-rig these mining charges into something more substantial?" Victoria asked. The engineer grinned. "Lieutenant, I can turn a food processor into a plasma cannon if you give me enough time. And I can get us through their medical scanners," Rachel added. "If we can disguise ourselves as plague victims, they'll want to keep us at a distance." Marcus watched his impromptu teamwork with growing pride. These weren't just skilled professionals. They were humans who refused to stay down. Every alien who had dismissed them as weak or broken was about to learn a hard lesson. The assault on the compound began at midnight. Walker's improvised explosives took out the main power grid, while Rachel's faked plague symptoms convinced the guards to maintain their distance. Victoria, despite her missing arm, led the infiltration team through the compound's security systems. They found David Park in the crime boss's private entertainment center, forced to perform complex navigation calculations for the amusement of alien guests. The sight of a Terran officer being used as a living computer made Marcus see red. "David," Victoria called out. "Time to go." The navigation officer looked up, his face breaking into a smile. "I was wondering when you'd show up." The crime boss, a massive hexapod with razor-sharp claws, blocked their exit. You think you can walk into my territory and steal my property? We're not stealing anything, Marcus replied, drawing his weapon. We're taking back what was never yours to begin with. The battle was brief, but brutal. The humans fought with the desperate fury of people who had nothing left to lose. When it was over, the crime boss lay dead, and David Park was free. That's 8, Victoria said, updating her count. 4 more to go. But their success had not gone unnoticed. As they prepared to leave the asteroid belt, Marcus detected multiple ships converging on their location. The Slavers Guild had decided to deal with them personally. We've got company, he announced. Looks like the whole guild fleet. Victoria appeared at his shoulder, studying the tactical display. Captain, I have an idea. But you're not going to like it. Let's hear it. We surrender. Marcus stared at her. Come again? Think about it. They want us alive. We're too valuable to kill. If we surrender, they'll bring us to their main facility, where they're probably holding the rest of our crew. And then? Victoria's smile was cold as space. Then we show them what happens when humans get really angry. Marcus considered the plan. It was insane, dangerous, and had a dozen ways to go. Wrong. It was also exactly the kind of audacious strategy that might actually work. All right, Lieutenant. Let's see if we can pull off the impossible. As the guild ships surrounded them, Marcus powered down the Defiance weapons. They were about to walk into the lion's den, but they weren't going as prey. They were going as predators. The final stand, the Slavers Guild stronghold, was a massive space station hidden in the Void Nebula, built into a hollowed-out asteroid. As their ship was pulled into the docking bay, Marcus counted at least 50 different species among the guards and workers. The guild was a truly galactic operation. Remember, Victoria whispered as they were led away in chains. We're defeated prisoners. Let them think they've won. The guild's leader was an ancient Vorthic named Kethmer, whose tentacles were scarred from countless battles. He received them in his throne room, surrounded by the wealth generated from countless lives sold into slavery. So, he gurgled through his translator, the infamous human rescuers, you've caused me considerable inconvenience. Just getting started, Marcus replied. Kethmer laughed, a sound like grinding metal. Defiant to the end. I admire that. It will make breaking you all the more satisfying. They were thrown into a holding cell deep in the station's core. But Victoria had been right. The remaining crew members were here. Communications Officer Lisa Santos, Security Chief Robert Martinez, and Engineer Technician Michael Chun were all alive, though bearing the marks of their captivity. Vicky? Lisa whispered in disbelief. How are you here? Long story, Victoria replied, quickly explaining their situation. But we're not staying. Over the next several hours, while there, captors celebrated their victory. The humans planned their escape. Victoria's engineering knowledge, combined with Walker's improvisation skills and Martinez's tactical expertise, created a plan that was both brilliant and insane. The station's power core is 3 levels down, Victoria explained, sketching a diagram on the cell wall. If we can overload it, we'll have about 10 minutes before the whole place goes critical. And how do we get out in 10 minutes? Rachel asked. We don't, Marcus said grimly. We get to the hangar bay and hope we can steal a ship fast enough. That's suicide, Martinez protested. No, Victoria corrected. That's human. The escape began when Walker used his belt buckle to short-circuit the cell's locking mechanism. Moving through the station's maintenance tunnels, they encountered minimal resistance. The guild had grown complacent, certain that their prisoners were secured. They reached the power core without incident. Victoria studied the alien technology for several minutes, then began making modifications with tools improvised from debris. I can give us 15 minutes, she announced. But once This starts, there's no stopping it. Do it, Marcus ordered. The station's lights flickered as Victoria completed her sabotage. Alarms began blaring throughout the complex. They had minutes to reach the hangar bay. The corridor leading to the ships was heavily guarded, but the humans fought with the fury of the desperate. Martinez led the assault, his security training evident in every movement. Walker and Shun provided cover fire, while Rachel tended to the wounded. Victoria, despite her missing arm, coordinated their movements with tactical precision. She had become something more than an engineer. She was a warrior who refused to be. Defeated, they reached the hangar bay with 3 minutes to spare. The only ship available was a guild cruiser, heavily armed but unfamiliar. Victoria threw herself into the pilot's seat, her fingers dancing over alien controls. "Can you fly this thing?" Marcus asked. "I can fly anything," she replied grimly. "Hold on." The ship launched just as the station's power core went critical. The explosion lit up the nebula like a newborn star, taking with it the Guild's most important stronghold and hundreds of Cell AVERS as they flew toward human space. Marcus looked around at his crew. They were battered, scarred, and forever changed by their ordeal, but they were alive. They were free. They were human. "Lieutenant Cross," he said formally, "I'm recommending you for the Medal of Honor." Victoria shook her head. "With respect, Captain, I don't need a medal. I need a promise. Name it. Promise me we'll never let this happen again. Promise me we'll make them understand the humans protect their own." Marcus nodded solemnly. "I promise." As Earth grew larger in the viewport, Victoria smiled for the first time in months. They had been sold as scrap, dismissed as broken, written off as lost. But they had proven something important to the galaxy. Humanity endures. Humanity fights back. And humanity never, ever gives up. The war against the slavers was far from over, but they had won something more valuable than any battle. They had won back their dignity, their freedom, and their faith in each other. They were human. And that was enough.